All right, so I'm going to show you how to finish off your rocket and make it look like this. So right now, grab move that back guy out of the way. And just fly out of the way. Let's do that. Okay, so right now you just have these yellow and red pieces. So we need to add in the body of our rocket, this gray part, and add in some windows. So to make the body of our rocket, we are going to use this paraboloid. So if you drag that out, so we'll start with the bottom first. So I want to flip this upside down. So I'm just gonna flip it upside down, 180 degrees. There we go. And I'm going to change the measurements here to make it nice and tall, like the one that's over on the left here. So these two measurements on the ground here are gonna be 30 by 30. And I'm gonna make the height 77. So really tall there. So one thing you might notice about the body I had in here before is that it's flat on the bottom. It doesn't have this rounded part. So we're gonna drag over a box and we're gonna set this to be 30 by 30. And 10 tall. And we're gonna line this up with that cone. So then I'm just going to combine these two together, only selecting those two shapes and grouping them. And there we have that. So I can drop this down to the ground. There we go. So there is the bottom of our rocket. So pretty easy. So next, building our top. So we're going to grab that paraboloid shape again. And I'm going to set this size to be 30 by 30. And I'm going to make it 50 tall. All right, so we're going to do something similar that we did with the red pieces and duplicate it and put an inside cone. So that's actually the blue windows on the side here are actually an inside paraboloid cone that's blue. So just like how we did that before, I'm going to duplicate and get a second one that I am going to make 1 millimeter smaller on all the sides. So 29 by 29 by 49. And I'm going to make it blue. And I'm going to align these together. So I selected both, go to my align tool, and make them go inside of each other. There we go. So you can see that blue one underneath there. So next we're going to make our holes for these 3 windows. So we're going to grab our cylinder hole tool and we're going to make it 5 by 5. And we'll see if that's, well, it'll have to be bigger. We'll just go 40. Obviously, we don't want our holes to go that way through our nose cone thing there. So we're going to rotate it. It doesn't really matter if you go front to back like how I did, or if you flip it this way here. It doesn't really matter. We just want it to go like that horizontally through the nose cone. So I need 3 of these, so I'm going to duplicate this and just drag it up a little taller, just putting a little space in between, whatever you feel like. And then when I did the third one, I did that equal spacing. So now that I have 3 windows, I'm going to select the 3 of them. So I am just clicking and dragging through those 3 shapes, or you can click on one, hold the shift key, and click on the other 2. So then I'm going to move this into my nose cone, and it's going to be really hard to like make it equal because it's a round shape. So an easy way to do it is I'm just gonna select everything. It's okay. Ooh, my mouse is a little touchy. So I'm gonna rotate and just select all of these things. And with the align tool, I think I want this one so that it just basically moved everything to be aligned to that middle part together. So if I were to group these right now, it's gonna cut holes through that inside cone too. So if I do that, you can see it just cut all the way through, and that's not what we want. That's not why we put a blue cone on the inside. So I'm gonna undo that. And so to make sure we can see that blue popping through, giving us that window effect, I'm going to click on one of my cylinder holes and hold the shift key and select the other two and select the outside gray parabola. And so I'm not selecting that inside blue one. And now when I group it, we can see the little blue pop through and make it look like little windows on both sides. So there's that. So we're getting close. So next we just need to add what's called the Cockpit Canopy. So I'll move this. Oh, move that off to the side here. We'll move it back there too. All right, so for the Cockpit Canopy, we're gonna start with a sphere. And we're gonna make it kind of some weird measurements, but it works okay. So this one, I'm gonna do 19.25 by 16.25. And I'm gonna make it 39.75 tall. For kind of a skinny, stretched out cylinder. So then we're going to take this one and duplicate it. And then what we're going to do with this one is rotate it. If you go along the inside, you can see that it snaps to that 22.5. If you go along the outside, it goes by like each individual one. I'm going to snap it to that 22.25 and kind of drag it on here. And this is going to become a hole. So this is actually going to cut away. And this bottom piece, I'll actually color it to be gray because that's what that piece is that we're working on. So I'm making this gray part that has that opening that that blue will sit inside of. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, figure out how much I want to cut away. And you can use your arrow keys too to move forward and backward. To go vertically, you do have to use that little cone. I don't want it that high. We'll try, we'll see what this looks like. So then once you're happy, I'm going to select both of them and group them. And now you can see I have a little cutaway there. That now we're gonna make another blue sphere. And this will end up being like that window, that blue part inside of there. So for these dimensions, I'm going to do, it's gonna be a little skinnier, so 10 and 17.25. So it's a little bit smaller than the other ones that we did, 35. Because we want it to be able to fully fit inside of here and not have any blue pop through, or else it makes it look a little funny. So now I'm going to drag this over and position it so it's inside of there. You just want to get it as centered as you can, but without having any blue pop through. So like out here, that's too much. Excuse me. And you want to check the back side, make sure no blue is poking through back there. That looks pretty good to me. So I'm not going to group them, because if you do group them, it makes everything the same color. And then we kind of lose that window effect. So what I'm going to do is drag it over and start to assemble these three pieces. So I'll move that out of the way for right now. So So I'm going to bring in my bottom piece and line that up. And then, so make sure you select all of that. And I'm going to have to bring it up a little ways and over. But I'm using my arrow keys to kind of help me. Oh, I can go a little higher still. Get it all lined up there, so that looks good. So then last is this cockpit canopy. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to bring it up higher, move it back. All right, let's get in close here and see what it's doing. Maybe too high. So you're going to want them to be centered in between your 3 holes on each side. I'm trying to get that, and I think I want it to be a little lower. And a little farther back. And what you could do, if you're starting to lose some of it in that side of the cone, you can tilt it a little bit. There we go. A little farther. That looks pretty good to me. So you just have to kind of play with a little bit. Don't be afraid to try something, and we can always Control Z to undo. Oh, and it looks like I shifted off the bottom a little bit. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist if you can't tell. There we go. That looks perfect. So that is that full rocket. The last thing you're going to need to do is add some text onto your rocket so that I know it's yours. So it's adding your name in. If you're not sure how to do that on your own, there's another video on Schoology that'll show you how to do that.